The Chicago Bears take on the North Carolina Panthers. And who wins this matchup and what to look forward to? You're watching another episode of Bears News Network. I'm your host, Mike Anderson, where we talk Chicago Bears sports like Chicagoans do, man. The number one place for tickets and prizes. You know what's free? Support. So hit that subscribe button, join the Bears News Network family. But before we do all that, hit the intro. I'm your host, Mike Anderson. Welcome to another episode of Bears News Network. Like we said, if you're a Chicago Bears fan, hit that subscribe button, like, comment, interact with us. We appreciate all the love and support. Now, let's get into this week's prize winner. Once again, this week's prize winner is Alex Sylvia. We announced that Wednesday. Once again, Alex reached out to us at Bears News Network in order to receive your prize. That's bearsnewsnet1@gmail.com. The Chicago Bears take on the North Carolina Panthers. This will be their 12th matchup. And out of the 12 times they have to match up, the Chicago Bears are favorite. Out of the 12 times, the Chicago Bears have won 8 out of the 12. So, with that being said, let's look how the North Carolina Panthers fare up against the Chicago Bears in this matchup. It's just a little bit about how they've been doing since Andy Dalton has taken over. And when you look at the numbers for Andy Dalton, since he's taken over for the North Carolina Panthers, you can see that he's been very effective with this number. So you can see 51 of 77, 538 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He's been having the QBR rating of 101.4 just out of his last 2 games. When you look at what he did week 3 versus the Raiders, which resulted in a win, he threw for 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and had a QBR rating of 123.6. Week 4 versus the Bengals, which resulted in a loss just last week, he had 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and an 83.3 QBR rating. He has a 1-1 record in his 2 starts, and he's averaging about 250 yards throwing per game, and his TD to interception ratio is 5-1, with 5 touchdowns and just 1 interception. One thing that also stuck out to me, also with the numbers of the North Carolina Panthers, is what they did last week against the Cincinnati Bengals was just amazing to me. Carolina versus the Bengals, 24 plus points the last 2 games. They had given up no sack versus the Bengals, only 2 QB hits on Andy Dalton last week. And then his pressure rate was in the low 20s. So the offensive line really held up for him. As far as Chuba Hubbard, though, he had a good game, 31 attempts at rushing the ball, over 104 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. And then Deontay Johnson, which has been a favorite target of Andy Dalton since he's got there in his last 2 games. Deontay Johnson finished versus the Bengals with 7 receptions, 83 yards, and 1 touchdown. So, what does this mean for the Chicago Bears and how can they fare? Number one, you have to be able to stop Deontay Johnson. You have to be able to stop the run and get pressure. Like I said, the Chicago Bears are ranked 17th in sacks this year. So pressure is still one of the things that we need to work on. But that secondary, according to PFF, which was ranked 19, yeah, look at the stats now. PFF, the Chicago Bears secondary is tied and ranked number 1 in the NFL. So let's go to see what PFF was talking about at ranked number 19, man. So let's get back to it though. With that being said, like I said, I want to see more pressure being accounted for on Andy Dalton and the ability for them to stop the run. Now, that's been something that's been struggling with them as far as this year with stopping the run. The Bears have been allowing 4.6 yards per carry on the run this year. And that's in the middle of the lower half of the pack compared to the previous years at the Chicago Bears. They've been in the top 1 or 2 ranked run defense at stopping the run, but it's still some bright spots on this defense. Like I said, the Chicago Bears have the 10th defense in the NFL in the secondary is tied for number one. But how does that fare with us as well? We have to be able to stop the run because right now, Chuba Hubbard with over his 100 rushing yards last week versus the Bengals. He's ranked 11 in NFL in rushing. So he's not just no slouch at the running back, man. He's most definitely a real deal good running back. He's number ranked 11th out of the whole NFL. So we, like I said, the big emphasis on stopping the run this year. But also another interesting stat that I wanted to bring up regarding the Carolina Panthers was the defense and how they played versus the Bengals. Now, the defense did allow 34 points. They did give up two touchdowns, and they did get an interception. But one thing that stood out to me was just the ability that they still gave up 60 yards to T. Higgins. Jamar Chase still finished with 85 yards and a touchdown. Joe Burrow was sacked 0 times out of 31 pass attempts, and then he threw for 232 yards, and he finished with a 100.5 QBR rating. Carolina's defense also did give up 141 rushing yards and two touchdowns to the Bengals in total. So just putting an emphasis on our running game and being able to run the ball effectively after showing what we seen last week will be a good thing. Also, when we look at the Chicago Bears defense and how they fared, as well as the offense just last week, we could see the Bears defense versus the Rams only allowed 18 points to the Rams. The Chicago Bears is giving up 21 points or less a game during this season. That's why they're in the top 10 in the defense. Also, the Bears got 3 sacks out of 29 pass attempts on Matthew Stafford. Montez Sweat, second week in a row with a sack with a strip fumble sack against Matthew Stafford. But one thing that stood out to me and why I said we still struggling with the run is because the Rams running back Williams versus the Bears ran for 93 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, almost 5 yards per carry in a touchdown. And that cannot happen. We have to be able to stop the run. But the Bears offense versus the Rams, we did score 24 points. DeAndre Swift did come to light and have his breakout game with his 93 rushing yards, 5.8 yards per carry and a touchdown. And not only being effective in the rushing, but being effective in the receiving and the passing game as well with his 73 receiving yards and one touchdown. Now, this was Caleb Williams' first game with a 100-plus passer rating, so that's a positive sign. He was 17 of 23 with 157 yards, one touchdown versus the Rams. So we can see the up trajectory that's been going on with Caleb Williams and how this offense, when we do have a run game, how effective that this offense can be. And one thing, we don't need Caleb to be a hero out there. We just need him to be a game manager, which he was against the Rams, and we see how that turned out. Now, like we said, we want to hear your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We want to hear how you guys feel. Put your thoughts and answers right underneath the video. Who wins this matchup? We want to hear from you guys. Who wins the matchup? Like I said, the Andre Swift and his performance, you don't want to shy away from running the ball. Him and Roshan Johnson was some monsters in that game, man. And the offense looked so much better and well oiled when we see how much of the running game plays a major issue with this team. Now, like I said, the Chicago Bears are allowing, as the point that I bring out when we were looking at the picture, the Bears defense in 2024 are allowing 4.6 yards per carry to running backs. That's just too high of a number. The Bears have to stop the run. And like we said, the defense is still ranked 10th, but the secondary did get better. So I don't see too much of they trying to throw with Andy Dalton. I see more they are going to try to run the ball just off of Chuba Hubbard being that 11th ranked running back in the NFL and how effective they've been running the ball over the past 2 weeks under Andy Dalton. I do not think that they're going to shy away from running the ball. So the Bears need to be prepared to stop the run. Now, let's get into the injury report. We want to get into that. Dak Pickens, our defensive tackle, and Terrell Smith, our DB, was listed as out versus the Panthers. DeAndre Carter, the wide receiver, and Tevin Jenkins, the guard, listed as questionable. I do think they're going to give it a go. But subscribe to the channel for Chicago Bears news and chance to win free tickets and prizes. Join the Bears News Network family. We appreciate all the love and support. And like me and Cootie always say, be safe and bear down, Chicago Bears fans.